Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Happy Halloween and welcome to FPC NFL Sunday. That's right. It is October the 31st. We are kicking off, actually getting into the meat of week eight here on Sunday. We got a whole bunch of games to talk about. And guess what? We got a full house here on FPC NFL Sunday. It's the first time in a couple weeks that we've all been here on the screen. And I'm speaking about mainly myself, but these three guys here really held down the fort. So, guys, good morning, and you're back being stuck with me here on FPC NFL Sunday. Are you okay with that?
Of course
Definitely.
we are. Can we say anything else, though?
Don't everyone speak at
Big
once,
boss.
please.
It's more of a treat than the trick on Halloween, so we'll take that.
There you go. Well, I will, considering the spirit, I will take that as a compliment, and we'll just move on from there. No, obviously, I had missed the last couple Sundays. Last week, I was at a friend's wedding. The week before, I'd rather not speak about it. Needless to say, I was not here for both these last Sundays, but we are ready to break down week 8 here in the NFL. And Kyle, I know it's been a good week so far. The Packers picked up a pretty big win. They snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat, as they like to say. Real quick, what are your thoughts on the Packers win, and how big of it do you think is this in the grand scheme of the NFC here?
And I think we're going to record the full press Packers pod later today, and something I'll bring up to my co-host Jesse. But this might have been the best game Matt LaFleur has ever coached in terms of just the short week of preparation, everything that was going on, needing to, wide receiver room, defensive coach change, and who's the play caller, like all those things, and they looked ready to play, like right from the get-go. I know the Cardinals had that one big play to Hopkins, but for the most part, the first quarter they really did nothing. And then I think back, is that what that is? Is that Arizona's problem? Is it coaching? Is Cliff Kingsbury really not capable of getting this team to the next level? So great win for the Packers. That, this, if they had lost, they probably wouldn't be alive for a first round bye in the number 1 seed, but this puts them firmly in that race. So important win for sure. Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing. And for folks out there that forget, you could get this only second season doing this. There's only one bye week this year. And we're going to talk about this here in just a minute. We have kind of a logjam of NFC teams right now with just one loss here. So, as to Kyle's point, that the Packers, they couldn't afford to lose this game. And it's not that their season hopes were teetering in the balance, but, maybe that 1 seed halfway through the season might. And, when you're getting later in the year, you want to be able to count a lot of these head-to-head matchups as victories in your favor. And, that's obviously very important for the Packers. So definitely a big win. It obviously muddies the water quite a bit, even further than what it was. So now we're sitting at what I believe it's 5 NFC teams right now with just one loss. We have the Packers, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Cowboys with just 5 wins, though, because they've already had a bye week. And, of course, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady and I talked about this a little bit on Thursday. I'm going to throw it to you guys now. Who's the best team in the NFC right now? Because I think there's a lot of good answers, and I don't think there might be a right one right now, but I want to get your opinion. So I'll start with you, Ricky, and we'll work to Kyle and then back to Braden in case he's changed his mind in the last few days.
I'm going to still stick with the defending champions. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So it's tough not to put Tampa in that equation. And I think over the course of the rest of the season, you got the Rams and Cardinals going to beat each other up. Dallas is going to lose some games, and we'll see even tonight if Dak Prescott even plays. And if he does, I don't know how great he'll be anyway. I like what the Packers are doing, no doubt. 7 in a row. Defense is playing great. Offense is starting to find a rhythm, which is good. I just think you look at Tampa's schedule, and I think it helps to get the Falcons again. They get Carolina twice, and that doesn't look as intimidating as it did earlier in the season. So as of right now, with the way Brady's playing, the defense starting to figure out a little bit. I think Tampa for right now.
I would say I have to agree with Keeler. I'd love to say the Packers, but I think it is the Bucs, and probably not just NFC, but NFL altogether. It's up to the field, everyone else to prove that they can beat Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Yeah, and I think kind of like we talked about.
Much?
Not really, no. I think kind of like we talked about the other day. I mean, I think Brady, just the rate that he's playing at right now, it's kind of just above anybody else. When you already have that, and I think the defense is starting to play a little bit better. I think it's just they're playing like a defending champion should right now. They're winning by 3 scores or more almost every week, it feels like. So I think it still is Tampa Bay.
Now, no one could actually imagine I was going to go against Tom Brady here. So this is a clean sweep. We would like to make this a little bit more interesting of a debate, but you guys kind of pretty much nailed it. At this point, we know we have a bunch of really good NFC teams. We know the Rams beat the Bucs. We get that. We can point to all these teams having a bad loss, and their losses haven't been great to begin with. But to this point, you have to kind of defer to this defending Stanley Cup. Jeez, you got me thinking about
Tampa Bay, right? Imagine that.
Stanley Cup, Super Bowl, whatever. At least not the World Series. Anyways, the defending Super Bowl champions. We're talking football here, American football, not hockey. The defending Super Bowl champions. It's hard to go against them because, again, I think a lot of their issues, mostly on the defensive side, are injury related. So they've been out without their top 3 cornerbacks for much of the season so far, or at least this last 3 or 4 games they've been out with them. There's been some injuries on the defensive line, and they've just been all sorts of banged up. Fortunately for them, they can just have Tom Brady throw the ball 40 plus times every game and just basically run the team that way. And that's been actually proven to work quite well in the past. So, but regardless, I think this team is, when healthy, and certainly even now, we've seen it, even not healthy, they're a pretty dominant team, especially on offense. And they have their moments on defense, obviously holding whoever it was, Washington to just 3 points. Oh, I'm sorry, Chicago. They're all the same, right? Chicago, Washington, they're all kind of the same team, right? Yeah, right. There's
Andy Dalton and Ryan Fitzpatrick are basically the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, it's hard for me at this point, even with those teams. Now, I do think that the competition in NFC is going to be pretty tough. There are some matchup differences. I still, like we talked about last year, Kyle, to quite a lot. I still think the Bucs are a terrible matchup for the Packers. Regardless, I don't know what it is. Team construction, team concepts, how they play. I feel like it's just a mismatch, and certainly not one that favors the Packers. But that could obviously change. And if you're a Packers fan, you would hope that would change if they do meet again in the playoffs, because you don't want them coming at you the same way, or at least you don't want the Packers going at the Bucs the same way. But it's been a pretty tight race here so far in the NFC, and with us hitting about the halfway point, we're only going to get it's only going to get a little bit tighter. So let's talk about, since it is Halloween, guys. I mean, I didn't dress up. I was thinking about it. I didn't have the eye paint. I didn't have the necessary things that I needed to get this all done. But we doesn't mean we can't do something Halloween themed. Now, Braden, I think I already know the answer to this question, but I will let you answer it for yourself. I'm going to ask you guys, 8 weeks into the season, or entering 8 weeks, what is the spookiest or the scariest thing you've seen? Now, get creative here, folks. It doesn't have to be one thing specifically. It could be a grouping of things. But I'll start with you, Braden, because again, I think I know the answer to this question for you, and then I'll throw it up to you guys. So, scariest thing you've seen so far this NFL season?
I think it's probably just the man. There's so many things I could go with right now, but I'll just say the hit that Patrick Mahomes took last week. I really didn't think he was gonna bounce back as quickly as he did. So I guess for the Chiefs' sake, if there's any chance they're gonna turn it around, I thought at first that might knock him out at least a week or two. So that's probably for me. The answer that I would go with is just not really a dirty play, obviously, by Jeffrey Simmons, just kind of a weird freak thing, but that's something that Mahomes has gotten hurt on before now a couple of times, is just those freak plays. So for Kansas City's perspective, I think if that would have been worse, it would have been really interesting to see what would have happened for Chiefs fans this weekend and what their season would have looked like moving forward.
What about you, Kyle? What do you think?
All right. So at first, I was thinking similar to Braden. like scary looking injuries. I was at first thinking about that, but then okay, as much as we call them scary looking injuries, I feel like that's more painful. Like I feel more sympathy for the players than I do like actually scared and afraid and fearful of the future. I know Packers, that first loss in week 1 to the Saints, that was pretty scary. Like as if this team played that bad of a performance. Less scared now that they've won 7 in a row and they've looked a lot better. Like not like the same team. So the fantasy guy, I'll go with a fantasy answer. And it's funny as I'll actually sympathize with Bears fans here. The offense in general and the offensive play call and the offensive line, just this system for Justin Fields is very scary. Like very talented quarterback. Anyone who heard in the offseason, I bought into the hype, especially in Dynasty, as him being a top 12 quarterback right off the bat. And that definitely hasn't been the case. Although so I'm speaking more top 12 value as opposed to production, but are they going to ruin him long term? I think it's pretty evident Matt Nagy's done after the season. Like it's going to be it probably can't get any worse unless they hire Adam Gase. But like they're going to have probably a competent offensive play caller and a competent offensive system. But is too much damage done already? So that's kind of scary for Fields. Scary for anyone who invested in Allen Robinson this year. And that's you're probably not seeing much of a solution the rest of the season. So yeah, that'll be my answer. I chose the Bears for some reason.
Ricky, what do you think?
From an individual perspective, it's the Steve Belichick stare downs that you're seeing in some of these
Right.
moments. I don't think anybody wants to look at that, especially if you're on the Patriots defense. But from a team perspective, I'm going to go with the Bengals because, dare I say it, the Bengals are good. If the season ended today, the road to the Super Bowl goes through Cincinnati.
Wait, say that again.
I'm going to say that the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC would go through Cincinnati.
I'm going to save that sound clip just in case we question this ever happening in the future. We can always come back and say that this.
Yes, the Bengals were at one point the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Timestamp in history.
This is not Ken Anderson. This is not Chris Collinsworth. This is not even Carson Palmer. This is a Bengals offense that is just hard to stop right now. I mean, you look at that Raven defense that was very good the last 5 weeks, and then Joe Burrow throws for 400 yards. Joe Mixon is one of the top running backs in the NFL right now, which we see staying healthy. And their defense with Bates and Bell in that secondary, it's hard to believe it. You look at the AFC North, which is known for physical, scary style football. And I don't think a lot of people would have thought Cincinnati through 7 weeks would be the one ahead with the way Baltimore is, the way Cleveland with their talent in the preseason. And Pittsburgh has their good defense, but not a great offense. But Pittsburgh's okay. But Cincinnati being the top of the AFC, it's got to be scary right now for the foreseeable future, the way Burrow and Chase are playing.
Nice. I like the variety of different types of scary, and I'm going to keep adding a little bit of variety because this is scary, just not for me. This is actually very delightful for me. It's just scary for the rest of the NFL. Short of the Thursday night game and 1 yard, 44-year-old Tom Brady is leading the league touchdown passes, passing yards, pretty much a top 3 in every statistical quarterbacking category, and he's making the position look like he's playing with school kids. I mean, it just looks so easy to him right now. And if you're the rest of the NFL, you're sitting here on Halloween, October 31st, 2021, and you're watching that guy still do what he's doing. That must be a very scary thing for any team out there. I don't care if you're 0 wins, 1 win, or you have 1 loss. That's a scary proposition. And I think perhaps the most frightening of all of them. But real quick, though, and obviously this is an NFL show, but I know there are a lot of New England and Boston-based fans that watch the show and listen to the show. Sadly, just learned that Jerry Remy passed away. Dealt with about 7 different battles with cancer, and I mean, longtime Red Sox broadcaster, obviously longtime Red Sox player. Just sad news, and it just kind of popped up on my phone. So unfortunately for those out there that who are actually watching the show that are from the Boston region and obviously are Red Sox fans, it's definitely sad news to wake up to on this Halloween. So a quick little divergence from our normal NFL topics to let folks know that happened. So moving on, I'm trying to pull this up here, but we're going to jump kind of into our prop bets for the week. We didn't get to do them. I don't believe we get to do them the last time we were out here, but we do have them this time around, and we're going to give you our answers. So right off the bat, we're going to head over to the Lions and the Eagles, or the Lions hosting the Eagles. Hopefully the Lions will they ever get a win? We'll see. We'll see about that. But will this game have more or less than 48.5 points? And I will, since this is how the screen's set up, I'll start with Ricky and go to Braden, then to Kyle. So, Ricky, over under 48.5 points in the Eagles at the Lions.
I'm going to go with the under. You just can't trust the Eagles right now. Nick Sirianni's been awful as a head coach. They basically ruined Jalen Hurts. They're going to draft their quarterback with one of their 3 picks in the first round, I'm sure, and it's really not all his fault. They can't run the ball. Miles Sanders is hurt. And the Lions, every time they seem to make some progress, Jared Goff seems to make some interceptions and ruins any progress that they make. This one's going to be one of the more scarier games of the day, meaning I wouldn't watch it unless it's on Red Zone, and I don't know how many Red Zone highlights there will actually be. So give me the under.
Yeah, I got to agree. I think this is an Eagles team right now. I think that they are just continuing to get worse and worse. I think it's getting closer to unraveling. I think more than people realize right now. I think there's a lot of times where just there's no really pace. There's really no flow to their offense. So I think when you have that, and Detroit's honestly been a team right now that's kind of sputtering even more offensively than they were earlier. So I think it's got to be under.
Because I think what isn't sputtering is the Detroit defense, because they've held down some really good teams, like the Vikings. I guess the Vikings had 19 points. Yeah, so they held the Vikings and Ravens to both under 20 points. I feel like they could do that with the Eagles too, but as you've all been mentioning, the Lions offense can't do enough to take advantage. So I see it also going under. I'm not even sure this is going to reach 40 points combined.
You know what? I'm going to shock you guys all. This is going to be one of those awfully played defensive games where there's a bunch of mistakes happen and a ton of points get scored. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishing this into existence because it is a game that unfortunately is going to be on the TV at some point, and I want to make sure that it's exciting. So you know what? I just got a feeling. I don't know what it is. Maybe both these teams somehow put up 30 points, and we sit there scratching our heads. Well, at least you guys are, and I'll sit there and be like, "Oh, I told you so." But give me the over on this one. Maybe just to be a little bit different. So next, if you can't already see on the screen, we have Mr. Damian Harris of the New England Patriots. Will he or will he not reach 100 yards rushing against the Chargers, a team that they surprisingly blew out of the water a year ago? Will it happen again this year? I don't know, but Damian Harris, 100 yards rushing versus the Chargers. Ricky, what say you?
Yeah, this is a yes. Chargers are one of the worst teams in the NFL in run defense, and I think the Patriots have started to figure out their offensive line combinations. They had Shaq Mason return last week. They're getting better protection from Mac Jones, which means better run opportunities for Damian Harris to opening up those holes. And the Jet run defense, while the Jets are bad, the run defense before last week was one of their better units. So you're starting to see New England figure it out. And until the Chargers actually can stop the ground game, Damian Harris should go over today. Plus, Patriots don't have much depth in the backfield anyway, so more carries for Harris is always good for that number.
I'm going to go yes. I think you're seeing right now not just different offensive line combinations that they're figuring out, but giving Harris a lot of successful opportunities to work and getting some wildcat snaps as well. So, like Ricky said, there's not much depth there, and him continuing to rumble is leading to good games for them. So I got to go with a yes here.
I'm going to say no. And I look at what he's done this year. The most he's ever had, actually, season high last week was 106. So even when he's getting there, he's just getting over. And I know in DFS this week, I really like targeting this game from a passing perspective. I really like Mac Jones, especially on Yahoo. He's almost the minimum price. It's kind of one of the best plays there. So I think this will be more passing game shootout. I don't expect the Bills, I was going to say the Bill Belichick defense and the coach defense to be able to shut down the Chargers this year. I think they've learned so much and much better coaching staff offensively with Brandon Staley. I don't think a 45-0 game is happening. I think the Patriots are going to have to pass to keep up. So I will say no, he'll go under.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to side with Kyle on this one. I do think that there are going to be a lot of passing plays in this game from both sides. Obviously the Patriots, by virtue of trying to keep up with Herbert and the Chargers. And I think we've seen, kind of to Ricky's point, not only just the offensive line of the Patriots, but the offense in general is starting to, I'm not going to say that they found an identity yet, but they're starting to carve something out, something that we've been kind of waiting, if you're a Patriots fan or someone who follows the team, you've been waiting to see, okay, what is this team going to be? Is it just going to be a cautious approach with Mac Jones and maybe every so often you make a big play? Or are they actually going to put the ball in his hands at times and see what this defense or what this offense can do collectively? And I think you're starting to see that more and more every week. And with an opportunity to, get back to 500 and really improve your potential playoff hopes, this is going to be a big win against a big AFC team. And it's going to have to be on Mac's arm to do it. So do I think Damian Harris is going to have a big game? Yeah. I mean, he may have over 100 yards combined rushing and receiving because to your guys' points, the Patriots don't really have many options coming out of the backfield like they used to. I mean, in years past, you can, throw your hand into a hat, pull out one of 5 names and be okay with whoever ends up with the ball. Now it's pretty bare in the cupboard there to replace the production. So do I think he's going to have over 100 yards collectively? Sure. Rushing, probably not, because I do, like Kyle says, think this is going to be a passing game for both quarterbacks. So Mark Ingram, big news, or one of the big news of the week, getting traded back to the New Orleans Saints. They take on the Bucs this week. It looks like he's going to play. Will he score a touchdown in his first game back? Book it or not happening, Ricky?
I'm gonna go with not happening. It's not that I think Mark Ingram can't contribute in this game. It's just a lot to ask as well. Even though it's a similar, it's out. Obviously, he's played with the Saints before, so he's not gonna have too much non-familiarity with the playbook. But it's a lot to ask coming in on a short week for him and make that big of an impact. I actually like Jameis's chances at an impact in this game. You look at his last 4 weeks; he's not turned the football over. He's making good decisions. He could use Kamara with the screen passes. I think over time you'll see Ingram get those touchdowns. I just don't think it'll be today. I think today's more about Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I agree with not happen. I think there's a lot to like right now in the red zone with Jameis. I believe he has the number 1 completion percentage, nearly 80% right now in the red zone. So he's doing it right now with his arm, and I think there's just like Ricky said, a little bit too much to ask, and it's not really the Ingram of old. I think he's really only had like a handful of runs this year that he's really kind of gotten going in the open field. So I'm going to go not happening here.
I'm going to say not happening, but I think it's entirely the defensive matchup. If this was a much lighter run defense, I think they could maybe try to, Peyton might almost like force feed him as they get to the goal line just to kind of get him a welcome back. Much better offensive line than what's with the Texans. But I think you're going up against the Bucs. That's like the worst ask of any running back right now. I know, Ian, you retweeted this, my goal line guide for the week. The Saints running game has the second lowest goal line grade of any team, either running or passing. So it's the lowest running, and the only one worse is the 49ers passing, because I don't think they still don't have a goal line touchdown thrown yet inside the 5-yard line. So, and that's where we'd expect, like, Ingram's not going to break off a long touchdown run. Like, for him, he'd need a goal line carry within the 5-yard line of the Bucs end zone, and I just don't see it happening. Part of it is the Jameis efficiency, but I think it's mostly just this defense. So not happening.
Yeah, I'm going to go with not happening too, just because, again, I mean, the Saints do have other options, especially at the running back position. You already mentioned Kamara. And, this, you got to think about the situation. How often do you think that the Saints are going to methodically drive down the field and have an opportunity to kind of bang it in from the goal line? And I don't, unless it comes early, I'm not too sure that that's going to happen, because I do feel like they're going to be playing from behind pretty quickly in this game, as we've seen. Again, I mentioned Tom Brady before. There's, I believe, 3 games already this season where he's thrown 4 touchdowns in the first half, and they've just kind of cruised in the second half. So it's very, very likely, or very good chance that, they jump out to another pretty big lead in this one, in which case I don't even think Mark Ingram's going to see the field that much to begin with, because, if you're going to be trying to come back, you're not going to be trying to run the rock with Mark Ingram. So yeah, give me the not happening on this one too. So Cowboys, we mentioned already, another 1-loss team. They're the only one that has fewer than 6 wins among those 1-loss teams. That's not their fault. It's just, by virtue of their schedule already. They take on the Vikings today. Another team that's good. I don't think, any of us believe they're Super Bowl contenders, but I also don't think that they're, an easy matchup by any means. With or without, and this is the intriguing part, Ricky, you've already mentioned Dak Prescott. There's still a chance that he may not play in this game. If you're the Cowboys, it might be a smart thing not to play him, just because they're thinking big picture. They're not worried too much about a week 8 matchup with the Vikings, but this might make it a little bit intriguing as to how you're going to answer this question. So I'll put the pressure on you, Ricky, to start. Over under 53.5 points, and you're going to have to, I guess, make the decision of whether or not Dak Prescott's going to play, because I think that's a big factor in which way you go.
I think even if Dak plays, this is an under, because you could also re-aggravate that calf injury. He could leave the game pretty early against that Vikings pass rush. And I think even if he is healthy, Dallas might lean more of a ground game with Elliott and Pollard, and maybe take some of the pressure off him a little bit, which would make NBC not happy, considering they want to market CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. As for the Vikings, really, they're 2 missed field goals away from being 5-1. So they've got a good team. I think that the record doesn't show how good they are, but it is Kirk Cousins on national television. And what we've learned from watching Kirk Cousins on national television, they don't put up a lot of points when he is on the national spotlight, albeit he's had a good season so far. But this one looks like it's more of a ground game. And with that being the case, I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'm going to go under as well, not just with Dak injury possibly looming over this game, but these are 2 defenses right now that are playing for the most part pretty well. I didn't expect Dallas to be kind of doing what they're doing this season, and it just feels like kind of one of those games where no matter who's quarterbacking for Dallas, there's going to be multiple turnovers on each side. So kind of just one of those wacky games that I just think teams are going to have a lot of chances to score, and they blow it right before they reach the end zone or something like that. So I'm going to go with the under.
I'm actually going to say the over, and I want to push back a little bit on the Kirk Cousins primetime narrative. I mean, dude's won a playoff game. I think once that happened, that's more important than just a random Monday night game, right? Like, I think now that he's won the playoff game, I'm trying to think back last season, Vikings primetime games. And I guess there was that stinker against the Seahawks.
Are you talking yourself out of your pick already?
I'm going to say over, and thinking that, like, the Vikings defense isn't that great. Like, I think Cooper Rush, if he ends up starting or playing significant time, I think he could still move the football. He's got a lot of talented weapons, whether it's through the run game or the pass game. And Kirk Cousins has been amazing this year. I mean, this might be and I think every year we keep saying this might be the best football he's played. And so I think the Vikings themselves, as good as the Cowboys defense has been, I don't think they've faced an offense this good. So, I think the Vikings themselves could almost put up 40 points, and that would really, all you need is the Cowboys to score 2 touchdowns, and you've got that over. So I'll take the over.
I would love to see this game turn into a shootout, just because, again, it would be very entertaining with no really hat in the race here. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to side with these guys and go with the under. Just, cautiously optimistic. I feel like this is a pretty safe, easy Cowboys win, in which case I just don't think the Vikings are going to be able to put up enough points in this game to hit that 53.5. So I'll take the over, the under, I'm sorry. And then Kyle, when they actually go over, can take a victory lap next week when we get back on here. So I think
of course, if the Vikings win, I won't be so happy as a Packers fan. So
yeah, well, see, maybe this is a little reverse psychology here. Maybe you're trying to talk them up only for them to fail miserably. So next, we have Brandon Cooks, about the only player remaining left on the Houston Texans that anyone knows about, going up against Robert Woods, who, hey, if you're a fantasy owner with Robert Woods, it's frustrating because, is it going to be his week? Is it going to be Cooper Kupp's? Usually when you guess Robert Woods, it ends up being Cooper Kupp. So this week, who's going to have more yards? Brandon Cooks, the only offensive weapon for the Houston Texans, or Robert Woods? What say you, Ricky?
I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks. I don't think you can have a Twitter outburst like Brandon Cooks did this week after the market. You can say not have a huge game. And you look at the Rams. I mean, they were big favorites last week and struggled against the Lions. They're probably going to bounce back this week. And I would think there's more of a run game for the Rams. Last week, Darrell Henderson only ran, I think, 15 times for 40 yards. You would think that's got to be different this week. So there's going to be at least more rushing opportunities for LA. And Robert Woods is essentially the decoy for Cooper Kupp. He frees up the middle of the field. Kupp finds the open spot. It's basically been that kind of formula for LA anyway. Texans will be in garbage time, which means more points for Cook. So Cook should have more yards than Woods said.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cooks as well. I think you look at Woods, and he's kind of a guy that just sits in zones and doesn't run a lot of deep routes, where I think Cooks, whether he runs a deep route or not, can hit an explosive play just like that. So pretty simple for me. I think right now with the Rams defense struggling just a little bit on the back end, I got to go with Brandon Cooks.
I think the only thing that would scare me away, spooky Halloween, from Brandon Cooks is maybe Jalen Ramsey. You got to think he's going to shadow Cooks, right? Just because, like, who else do they have? Like, who else would Ramsey cover? Like, I feel like they would. And Ramsey probably think that's a waste of time, right? So that's the only hesitation. But I'm still going to say Cooks. Like Braden was mentioning with the game script, and I'm just looking at like their yardage together. And Robert Woods had that 150-yard game, but then he doesn't have more than 70 yards in any game, whereas Cooks has done that like over 70 in close to half his games or half his games this season. So yeah, I'll say Cooks.
Yeah, we're going to make it a clean sweep here. We should have probably we had a couple of these today, but maybe that's the scary part of it all. There's the spooky part of it all. Is we're all agreeing on stuff like this. Yeah, I'm going to take Brandon Cooks as well. Again, if I mentioned it before, if you're a Robert Woods fantasy owner, he's frustrating as hell because you think it's going to be his week every single week, and it's not. Brandon Cooks, however, I mean, he's as consistent as you can get, especially with, seemingly having a new quarterback every single week or at least every other season or whatever. It's always something different with him, but he remains productive. So definitely give me Brandon Cooks. And that will do it for our play pickup props. Yes. Yeah, there we go. We got five in, and I think we were all right somehow, even though we had different answers on some of them. We'll figure out the logistics of that at another time. But that means, folks, we are at the point now where we're going to really put our reputations on the line if we hadn't already with some of the things that we've said, and we're going to make our picks for week 8. So I've already done this, of course. If you tuned into FPC Radio Live on Friday, I put my picks together with John Sapichetti, but I'm going to do it here again with the 4 of these guys, or the 3 of these guys, because clearly I cannot count. We have a pretty decent, I guess, 1 o'clock slate. I mean, really, I'm looking at this now, and if you're watching on the screen, you can kind of see what my reaction is. There's really not too many intriguing games. A lot of them come in the 4 o'clock hour on Monday night with the Kansas City Chiefs. But there are some matchups that sort of, kind of to Ricky's point, we kind of hope that are just kind of S shows and they're just kind of ridiculous and make it entertaining because, look, am I excited about, I don't know, Miami Buffalo? I mean, kind of, sort of. Like, I would love to see both teams like tie 3-3. I mean, I think that would be great. But for the most part, it just looks like a mismatch. So we'll get into that. And if you guys want to give your thoughts on any one of these 1 o'clock games that might actually be sneakily intriguing, please let me know, because so far I'm drawing a blank. So let's get started. We have the battle of the NFC South. We have the 3-3 Atlanta Falcons hosting the 3-4 Carolina Panthers. Now, a few weeks ago, right around the time that they traded for Stephon Gilmore, we were thinking, oh my God, the Carolina Panthers. They are a great defense. Sam Darnold has somehow figured it out, and this team could be a sneakily good team. Well, I don't think they've won a game since. Sam Darnold has been benched, and he looks like the Sam Darnold we've known since USC, since New York Jets, and so on and so forth. Regardless of whether or not Christian McCaffrey's in this game, I just think this Carolina team is I think they peaked way too early, and I don't think it's going to get much cleaner moving forward, because I do think that they have a quarterback problem. So in this particular game, I'm taking Atlanta at home to move to 4-3 and beat the Falcons, or beat the Panthers.
What a brutal QB matchup. No,
Okay.
I love making fun of Matt Ryan, but yeah, I think go with the quarterback, and I'll say Atlanta will win as well.
I guess we're going in reverse order from before. Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. What I just picked the order based on what I see on the screen here. But Kyle, we'll go bottom to top this time. So Braden and then Ricky will bring up the rear.
Yeah, it was great to see Kyle Pitts have a big game last week. A lot of contested catches on the sideline, and Cordero Patterson. I mean, at running back, why wasn't he used at that spot earlier in his career? He's been great there. So those guys continue to roll. I think the Falcons should honestly win probably pretty comfortably in this one.
Yeah, a month ago it was one quarterback on the way up, one on the way down, and Sam Darnold and Matt Ryan. Now those roles, even with Stephon Gilmore back today for Carolina, you got Kyle Pitts on a roll right now, as Braden just said. You've got Ridley, you've got Cordero Patterson. You can't even say this is a Mike Davis revenge bowl anymore because he's basically become close to useless in this Falcons offense. But give me Matt Ryan at home, honestly, until Sam Darnold figures it out or until Matt Rule does the bold move and actually plays PJ Walker. I would go to the Falcons.
Well, next we have a great Miami at Buffalo game that I mentioned. Look, I was very wrong on the Dolphins. I had a lot of I don't want to say high hopes, but I thought that they had they had something that they could build off of, and I think that's completely gone. I think they're losing their quarterback. Not that at his peak he's terribly great anyways. And I think they're just going to run into a team that I think is good. But having not played a really good team for much of the season so far, I think Buffalo is going to deceive some people, and maybe not in a good way. I do think they win this game. I think they do win it fairly handily because, again, I just don't think Miami's doing anything well at this point. And if you can change my mind, by all means, help me change my mind. And I apologize, Kayla, if you're watching, but I just don't see what Miami has going for them right now in any facet of the game. So
I mean, the Bills have the better defense too, right? As well as the better quarterback. Like I don't see how Dolphins win. It's Bills win by like the real question is how much are they going to win by? Are they going to win by 35 and completely shut out the Dolphins like last time? I don't think so unless Tua gets hurt and they have to kind of game switch, because Tua I think has played maybe his best stretch of football in his NFL career so far these last 2-3 weeks. So I think they'll actually put up points, but I also don't know that Miami Dolphins often defense can stop the Bills. So they might win by 35 by scoring 50 this time.
Yeah, I think Dolphins actually score a little more just because Tua is playing as well as he is right now. But yeah, too much of a Game of Thrones inside the Dolphins' own locker room right now with the whole Tua situation and what the coaching staff wants and the front office wants. And defense is way worse than it's been in the Brian Flores era. So all that combined leads to a Buffalo victory here.
Yeah, the only other team that was happy about the vote of confidence for Tua this week from Brian Flores is the Bills defense. This is where Tua, of course, got benched last season in Week 17 for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think he'll get benched for Jacoby Brissett today because, like both of you have said, Tua is the least of their problems. I honestly feel bad for Tua. He could use a change of scenery just so people believe in him again because I don't think they've ever truly believed in him in Miami anyway. But give me Buffalo off the bye. They're going to be refocused, especially after a loss. So put those two factors together. It's trouble for the Dolphins today.
Next, we have Chicago hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams, I don't think would be considered the elite of the NFC. We've actually already talked about them. But give me the Bears at home in this one. Something tells me, 38-3 drubbing that they just suffered at the hands of the Bucs going home. I think they're going to, in spite of Matt Nagy, don't confuse this with praising and giving credit to Matt Nagy. I think they're going to win this game in spite of him. And I'm going to take 3 straight home teams to start off our picks.
I don't think Nagy's there today, right? Like he's on the
right.
He's got
COVID,
right. So
correct.
That actually makes sense that they'll win. They don't have Nagy, so they will win. I kind of like that logic. This would have been great if it was Fields versus Lance. And I do wonder if the lack of faith in Lance is also putting a lack of faith in this locker room and this coaching staff, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, does that team believe in Garoppolo? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they think, okay, he's the dude that got us to the Super Bowl, and it's actually the fact that Lance has even been brought up is what's the distraction. But I don't know. Something just doesn't seem right with the 49ers this year. Definitely expected them to be better. So I'll go with a team that actually has stability at quarterback, even though it's been pretty awful with Fields. But I'll agree with you, Ian. I'll say the Bears.
Well, real quick before I throw it up to Braden, are these teams at any point? Look, we're getting into 8 weeks into the season, and I think it's pretty obvious who the best of the first. I'm not saying that this player is going to have the best career out of all of them. I don't know the future. I wish I did. But I think it's very clear which quarterback has played better out of all these first-round quarterbacks. So now all of a sudden, especially if you're the Bears. Think about if you're the Bears. Good God. First, you miss out on Patrick Mahomes by taking Mitch Trubisky. Now, what if, again, I know there was a lot of Patriots fans out there and a lot of people out there that love Justin Fields. I'm more of a traditional drop back pocket quarterback fan, so I was very happy with the Mac Jones pick. But entering 8 week, I think it's very clear who's played the best out of those, and I think that's starting to put a little pressure on some of these teams.
I will
49
say, I don't think Mac Jones would look this good if he was on the Bears, though. Like that to me,
God, no,
as much
yeah.
as I don't think you could. I mean, you have to put a bit on Fields, but I
No.
don't think it's on him. But to your credit, Jones has been the best of the rookies, even better than the Jesus that was Trevor Lawrence, or as everyone's viewed him for the last like half decade. But yeah, you're right, and yeah, you're right. There you go, Ian. I said you're right.
That's all I want. I just needed a little ego boost for someone saying that I was right. But no, anyways, I just can't help but think that there's got to be pressure at some point starting for some of these coaches and decision makers who look across the league and say, okay, all of us had an opportunity to pick this one kid and we didn't. What's going to happen? And again, especially if you're a team like the Bears who have had some recent history of making the wrong decision, that might come back to get you pretty quickly. So anyways, Braden, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Niners. I don't know how. I think this is a game where Chicago's going to somehow find a way to blow it. And even though Robbie Gould's not going to be kicking in this game, I think it'll be like a last-second field goal. Niners win by like 2 or 3 points. So close one, but I got San Francisco finding a way at the end.
Yeah, this is the flip the channel game of the week from Kicking It with Keeler, and it's also the scariest game of the week because honestly, if this game popped up on my screen, I would so quick try to find the remote and change the channel. It's that bad because you've got one team. Yes, no Matt Nagy take due to the COVID protocols, but the Bears offense is scary, and the Niners offense is scary because, like you guys said, there's dissent in that locker room because honestly, Trey Lance should be playing right now, not Jimmy Garoppolo. The public kind of get behind that too. I like the Bears, honestly, because they have the better run game. And it's weird to say that in a Kyle Shanahan offense, but Khalil Herbert ran for, 100 yards last week against the Bucks when they only scored 3 points. It means he's going to do something against the Niners. So just by up that ground game, that's going to be enough. Chicago wins, but I'm avoiding this game on my TV.
All right, so like I said, there's a lot of those type of games. I feel like this 1 o'clock, this Sunday at 1 o'clock. We've been pretty fortunate throughout the week so far. This week, I think we're getting a few lackluster matchups. Next, we have Cleveland hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Browns again. I feel like expectations were obviously rising every year. I think we're finding out that, look, Baker Mayfield's a pretty good quarterback, but I've likened him a lot more to Jared Goff, where I feel like you need to scheme things open for him, whereas he can't really do it on his own. He can't create the offense that I think people expected him to. Doesn't mean Cleveland's not a good team. I think they are a pretty good team, or at least good talent on the team, so they have the capability of winning some games. I just don't think it's going to be this week. I think Pittsburgh actually somehow, some way, I don't know how, maybe Ben Roethlisberger somehow, has a vintage Ben Roethlisberger game, but I think Pittsburgh wins this one on the road in Cleveland and further cements the fact that the Bengals are the best team in this division.
I think the return of Nick Chubb is going to be huge for the Browns, and already seeing what they had with Dearness Johnson, especially with the injuries to Baker, and frankly, you're right, Ian. He hasn't been all that spectacular playing, and there's a term I'd like to throw in there. I think it applies to Goff. Maybe a guy like Derek Carr is maybe like the pinnacle of how good you can be this way, but quarterbacks that are not good outside of structure. If the first read's there, if the timing on the routes are perfect, all three of those quarterbacks can accurately throw the ball if they've got time. But it's when they don't have time, what happens, right? When they're having to move off and play for 5 seconds and make multiple field reads, like that's when things get into trouble. But I think Nick Chubb coming back with him and Dearness Johnson's enough. They control the clock. They keep the ball away from the Steelers. And I think the Browns get the home win here. I'm going all home teams so far.
Home team. Braden, what do you think?
I'm going to go Steelers on this one. You said classic Roethlisberger game. I think this could be a lot of classics here for Pittsburgh today. I think defensively taking away the run game. I think Mike Tomlin, this is going to be a classic game for him. where he's just going to kind of remind people why he's one of the better coaching leaders around the league. And I think just the quick passing game too for Roethlisberger, that's going to kind of neutralize Myles Garrett and that pass rush just enough. And I think Najee's in for a big day. So roll with Najee, and I think Steelers find a way to win it.
Yeah, I'm going with Ian and Braden here. I'm going with the Steelers. To me, coming off a bye, Mike Tomlin's one of those better coaches off a bye week. Najee Harris is rested, ready to go. Tomlin's also to deal with the USC Carson Palmer rumors this week, so he's a little bit more motivated and angry for this game. Baker Mayfield is not healthy, and he's got to see more of T.J. Watt. That's a matchup nightmare. I don't think it's all Baker's fault in Cleveland by any means, and also the Browns' defense, very disappointing outside of last week against the Broncos. And honestly, if Denver had anything capable of quarterback, Denver probably wins that game anyway. So give me Pittsburgh on the road to win.
All right, and based on the time we spent on these first 4 games, we're going to speed it up here because we would not be able to finish before the games kicked off if we kept at our current pace, and I'm to blame for that one. So this is actually going to be a couple games coming up are going to be pretty easy, so we're going to fly through them anyways. This next one, intriguing. I got the Detroit Lions finally walking off the field with a victory, and I'm just waiting to see what Dan Campbell does when that happens. Philadelphia, Detroit, like I said, I mean, not the most intriguing matchup, but I do think Detroit is due, and I think they're going to finally win one here at home. So give me the Lions.
Honestly, just quickly going through the roster in my head, DeAndre Swift is probably the most talented player on the field. And I think he might be the big difference maker both in the run game and pass game. And yeah, I agree. I think the Lions finally get the first win of the season.
Yeah, thank God that rumor never came to be true earlier in the season, if we all recall, with DeAndre Swift. That's why you don't just report things without actually accurate information. Braden, what do you think?
I also got the Lions. They might be one of the best 0-7 coach teams that I can remember. They're fighting every week. They're doing a lot of fun things, like last week against the Rams, fake punts, so onside kicks, stuff like that. So they're fun to watch, even though they're 0-7. I think they get it done today.
It's a clean sweep. I'm going Lions as well. I just turmoil in Philadelphia. There's more turmoil on a 2-win Eagle team than a winless Lion team. Never would have thought that, but it's just going to get worse for Philly than better. Detroit wins.
Next, we have the Titans coming off a huge win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They've beaten Buffalo Bills. They've had some big wins this season, but they're going to lose to the Indianapolis Colts today on the road. Yes, that's right. A big letdown after a huge win over the Kansas City Chiefs last week. I think Tennessee is a team that is ripe for just a complete, 180 turn from what they were a week ago. I think Tennessee comes in, and I think Indianapolis, I think you're going to get good Carson Wentz this week, and I think they walk away with a win at home. So give me the Colts.
The Titans have been so weird. How did this team lose to the Jets? Honestly,
I don't. Jets.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, if they're really bad, I could see it. But and then I'm looking at they beat the Colts 25-16. But even that, at that stretch, Carson Wentz really wasn't playing well. You figured that game the Titans would have just rolled right through them and not. I mean, I guess a 9-point win is still a 2-score game technically, but just barely. But I don't know. This Titans team might be the best team in the AFC, and I don't have faith in Wentz. So I'm actually going to finally pick a road team and say the Titans win.
I got the Colts. I think I believe I saw that Vrabel's never been able to sweep the Colts so far in his Titans career. So I think just kind of going off that history, that's going to continue. But I also think right now the Colts are playing a little more multiple on each side than the Titans, at least at a higher rate. So I think it'll be a tight one, but the Colts get the job done.
Even when he didn't have a touchdown in the first matchup this year against the Colts, Derrick Henry still ran for 113 yards. The Colts defense just can't stop Derrick Henry. And I feel like all the public besides Kyle apparently is buying the Colts in this game. My logic is if everybody goes one way, go the other way. Tennessee needs this game because if Tennessee loses, they got the Saints and Rams the next 2 weeks. Indianapolis has the Jets next week. This division looks a lot different if Indy wins today, which means Tennessee is going to win.
All right, next we have the Bengals at the Jets. Bengals. That's it.
Bengals. Go ahead, Braden. I agree. There's nothing to say.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Bengals. When's the over/under on Joe Flacco getting in for Mike White in this game?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about Joe Flacco. No, I mean, hey, maybe Joe Flacco makes this team a little bit more competitive, but yeah, it's. I mean, when you lose, as much as I like what the Patriots are doing, I mean, they beat them 54-13. That's tough. So, next, this might be another very similar reaction. The Rams at the Houston Texans. Give me the Rams. That's it.
Rams.
Rams.
Braden.
Yep, Rams.
Rams.
Rams. Okay. All right. We're all, we're not that drunk yet, so we're all fine. Okay. Moving on to the 4:00 games. We actually do have some pretty intriguing matchups. The first of which is obviously the Chargers hosting the Patriots. Now, again, this is a big game for both teams. Obviously, Los Angeles trying to stay among the elite of the elite in the conference. The Patriots trying to make their way into that mix, into the playoff mix, and there's an opportunity if they get to 4-4 at 500. So, in this one, do I think it's going to be 45-0? No, but I think the Patriots win this one on the road somehow, some way. I think they build off what we saw last week and continue to grow offensively, and I think they surprised the Chargers a bit.
This is the game of the day for me. If there's one game I'm looking forward to the most, it's this one. Just to see like what can Herbert do against his second chance against the Belichick defense. But again, with better coaching staff around him, I think that they will find a way to get it done, and I think the Chargers will win the game.
Yeah, I think Chargers are a little more desperate right now with the Raiders winning the last couple weeks without Gruden and coming off a really, really bad loss. So I think just a little more desperation. I think it'll be close, but Chargers just barely get it done.
Don't worry, Ian. I'm with you on this one. I'm going with New England.
Nice.
I think you look at this game. Harris is going to have a good day running the ball. I think you're going to see Mack get the ball down the field. Nelson Aguilar could get more involved this week, but Kendrick Bourne is making plays in this offense. You saw Jonnu Smith get more involved last week, and it's also the Hunter Henry Revenge Bowl. The only thing that concerns me is Jalen Mills against Mike Williams, because I think J.C. Jackson could do okay against Hunter Henry. It's Mills against Williams on the other side. But if New England does just enough, I actually disagree with the shootout kind of game. I think if the Patriots win this game, it is ball control. They need to keep Justin Herbert on the sideline. And if they do that, maybe they make. I like New England in a one-possession ball.
Now, I did say that there's some intriguing matchups in the 4:00 hour. This is not one of them. Jacksonville at Seattle. I think the only appeal of this is, well, maybe Trevor Lawrence, and maybe you can talk about the college coaches, the history between Urban Meyer and Pete Carroll. But other than that, I think it's kind of
I forget Pete Carroll's a college coach, right? Because he's done so well in the NFL that I have a hard time believing he was a college coach, right? Just on the history of college coaches in the NFL.
Just remember his time with the Patriots, and it'll be very, very quick to remember his college success. This game, I'm taking Seattle at home for a lot of reasons, the least of which is me believing in the Seattle Seahawks. They're at home. They're against Jacksonville. Give me the Seahawks in this one.
I wonder if the Seahawks will break the record for least plays running a game, because that's the one thing that, like, the pace of play in that offense is just ridiculously slow, and I think you leave the door open for the Jags to kind of to really control the game on their part coming off the bye week. We'll see how Urban Meyer can prepare a team after a bye week. I definitely have more faith in Carroll as a head coach, obvious, but I actually think the Jags are going to get the road upset here, just because I have that little faith in Geno Smith's Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't know if this game's even going to have much touchdowns, but I think I don't know. I just don't know if the Jags have like any real motivation right now. Once they got that first win, may seem kind of weird for a younger team, but somehow, some way, Seahawks get the job done.
Sorry, Keeler, I just want to interrupt for a sec, but Braden, the only touchdown this game might be a Jags pick six against Geno Smith. That might be the only touchdown. So you're right there.
You can almost take that to the bank, I think. Geno Smith throwing a pick six, yeah, I like it.
I think he only has one interception in 3 games so far, so it's not as if like he's been turning it over that bad. I'll look that up. I know it. I was surprised that he hasn't been turning over. One interception in 3 games, and it was against the Rams in that game. He kind of took over halfway. So that's the other way to look at that.
Right, he's due. All right, Ricky.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this game. I actually think it's not the worst game on the 4 o'clock window, which is weird to say that, but I think Gino does just enough of ball control in this game, as Kyle was just saying, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. I think they can run the ball more efficiently than Jacksonville can. Plus, there's 11. It's not the 12th man because Seattle's not that good. Maybe it's the 11 and a half men. But nevertheless, I will take Seattle. I just don't trust the Jaguars right now. So Seahawks win.
All right. Well, this might be the worst matchup on the 4:00 hour here, and that's Denver at Washington at Denver. You know, I at least like Denver's defense, so I think by default playing them at home or picking them at home is going to be the way to go in this one. Washington is a team that's greatly disappointed, at least my expectations coming into the season. I don't think it's going to change. So Denver at home picks up the win to stay ahead or stay in the mix in the competitive AFC West.
Yeah, this one's tough because I like the Denver secondary a lot more than Washington's, but the Washington front seven, like that defensive line, they're starting to play better. You kind of saw it a bit against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, Magic able to kind of withstand that. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock gives you that type of presence in the pocket to be able to survive. If the Chase Young and Montez Sweat led pass rush can get there, I think Washington can kind of win a defensive battle. I don't even know if Heineke is the worst quarterback here. Like he might actually be the best quarterback between the three of him, Bridgewater, and Locke. So yeah, I'll take Washington with a road win.
I don't know how. I think Denver right now is going to find a way. I think maybe just because the secondary will take McLaurin away enough, and I think Denver has a little more options to work with offensively. Plus, this is feels like a big game for Vic Fangio if he's going to kind of keep his locker room, motivated for him before. Possibly he's let go if that's going to happen this year. So this is a big week for Vic Fangio.
This is one of those flip the coin kind of games. Unfortunately, I don't have a coin, but nevertheless, Denver couldn't stop the Cleveland Browns and Dearness Johnson's ground game last week. I think this is a big game for Antonio Gibson. If there ever was a big game, and J.D. McKissick, maybe they could get something going on the ground. And like Kyle said, Heineke's better than Bridgewater and Locke. I'm not confident in it, and Washington does have a kicker named Blewett. Washington wins, but it's avert your eyes. Maybe go trick-or-treating if you got kids during this game.
Well, before we get to the last two questions, and I know Kyle's spidey sense probably already alerted.
Yeah, I've been reading
a fantasy question. I think directed, if they're smart, directed towards Kyle because you don't want my fantasy advice. But I could see by the scratching of his chin that Kyle has already been thinking about it. So if you're not seeing it on the screen, I'm going to read it to you, and then Kyle can give you his answer. This person is in a 12-person standard work buy in league. He has 2 wide receiver slots, 2 running backs, 1 flex. He has Keenan Allen, Chase Claypool, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs. He can only start 2. Which 2 is he starting, Kyle?
And then the follow-up comment is he is flexing Leonard Fournette. So there is the possibility to maybe start 3 of those wide receivers by benching Fournette. I'll start with what's like most obvious. You need 2 wide receivers. I think AJ Brown for sure, especially with Julio out. I mean, 2 weeks back since injury, he's gotten 9 targets in each of the last 2 games. I think AJ Brown, as much as there's talent on this roster, that's an insane wide receiver room. Yes. I think AJ Brown's an every week starter on this team the rest of the season. I think you can't bench him. Ever, really. I just think he's that kind of dominant, even when Julio's there, but certainly without Julio, I think he's for sure a must start this week. Diggs, one of his best games of the season, did come in that blowout against the Dolphins. So even with the scary game script, I think I would still go Stephon Diggs. And then it really comes down to between the other 3 receivers, Keenan Allen, Claypool, Metcalf. I'll just going to go with the quarterback and say Keenan Allen as the third option. Do you flex Keenan Allen or you flex Leonard Fournette? I think that's the really toughest. I think AJ Brown and Diggs to me are kind of, I'm not benching those guys. Those are locked in. And then because I'm buying into the shootout game script with the Chargers, I would go Keenan Allen over Fournette. If you believe what Keeler and Ian was saying, that it is a defensive battle, then you might want to go with the third running back in Fournette. I guess the last thing is what kind of scoring settings is there points per reception? Is it, if there's no point per reception at all, then yeah, flex Fournette. You want to flex the running back every week. With a full point PPR, I think I would flex Keenan Allen. So the scoring setting might depend on what you do that flex spot.
Perfect. See, I couldn't have answered that question. I would have just said I don't know. I don't know what I would have said, but thank you, Kyle. And if you want to tune in later and talk all fantasy, stay tuned with Kyle Senra because he's going to be up here in a little bit after we get off the air, after we finish picking our last two games here, because that's what we're at. We have Tampa at New Orleans, playing the Saints and Jameis Winston for the first time this season. These two regular season games really came to define the early part of the year for Tampa, obviously opening the season against New Orleans, and then, of course, the epic beatdown that they received at the hand of the Saints in the middle of the season. However, this Bucs team is different. Likewise, the Saints team is different from what they were a year ago. I think the Bucs are far better. I think the Saints are getting there. I got Tampa on the road again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier in the show. I just don't see a team that's capable of slowing down the Bucs offense right now consistently. And until that happens, it's hard for me to pick any team against them. So give me Tampa Bay on the road in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it quick because I do think this is closer to a blowout. Maybe not quite Rams, Texans, or Bengals, Jets, but I think that the Bucs outmatch the Saints pretty significantly, and Tampa's going to get the road win.
Yeah, I think this is actually closer than people think. I think there's part of me that, sorry, I don't want to jinx him now. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think there's people in Tampa expecting Jameis to really falter in this game. But I actually think he's going to play pretty well today, probably be their best player. But I still think the Bucs will win in a close one.
Revenge game for Winston, that's right. Or is it a revenge game for Bucs on we wasted a first overall pick on you?
Well, hey, I
they should have taken Mariota.
Yeah. Most Bucs fans should just be thanking their lucky stars that Tom Brady is their quarterback right now and forget about Jameis Winston. But that's just my opinion. Ricky, what do you think?
I've gone back and forth in this one pretty much all week because remember it's Halloween in a sold-out Superdome. That's never a good recipe. We know Marshawn Lattimore's history with Mike Evans and Antonio Brown's out, and we're limited Rob Gronkowski. I don't really think the Bucs honestly have been tested. The last few games have been Miami, Philly, Chicago, and again, last 4 games for Jameis Winston, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. So Sean Payton's not going to put him in some weird things. They're going to do some creative, crazy stuff. I don't know when the Bucs lose again. So if that's the case, Saints get the win at home.
Picking the upset. All right. So finally, last but not least, because we're not going to pick the Monday night game, Dallas at Minnesota. I don't hate Minnesota. I don't like Minnesota. I'm kind of indifferent on Minnesota. I think Dak Prescott does end up playing today, and just my luck, he's probably just been announced out and I missed it. So clearly I'm going to be wrong, but no, assuming Dak Prescott plays, I think Dallas has enough, can do enough on Sunday Night Football to win this game and get to 6-1. Give me the Cowboys in this one.
I think all things considered, if both players are healthy, I think Dak Prescott, we've talked about on the show before, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Kirk Cousins isn't, but I don't think he's that far off. And if Dak's not 100%, the quarterback edge of this matchup might actually go to the Vikings. I think Cousins thwarted that narrative of not appearing in primetime when he, in a much bigger pressure game, won a playoff game in the Superdome, in a sold out Superdome. It wasn't on Halloween, of course, but I think he thwarts that narrative completely here, and the Vikings win.
I'm also going Vikings. I kind of liked him even before Dak was a game time decision. I think this is just going to be a classic game where their style's going to take over. Running game, a lot of play action, kind of methodical game, and I think Dallas will kind of fall into that trap just enough. So I got the Vikings.
Yeah, with all the uncertainty at quarterback for the Cowboys, I can't trust Dallas in this game. And largely, also look at 2 weeks ago, you can complete deep passes on this team as good as Trayvon Diggs is. And the Vikings, last I checked, have Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. So Minnesota should be able to have success offensively. Give me the Vikings at home to beat Dallas.
Well, there you have it, folks. We had some laughs. We killed some time. And we got about an hour and a half until the kickoff of Week 8 here in the NFL. So thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned. Kyle's going to be hanging out here for a bit talking fantasy football. So if you have any more fantasy questions, now's the time to start getting them in. because he'll be more than willing and able to answer them, unlike myself and maybe some of us other here. I'm not speaking for Braden and Ricky, but like I said, you don't want fantasy advice from me. But anyways, give us a follow on Twitter at Full Press NFL and stick around for the entire NFL Sunday as we're tweeting and sharing information throughout the day. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you later